Anywhere you go, give it on. Anywhere you say.
I was down at Total Wine in Millennial Village in Orlando, shopping for tequila, when suddenly I came across this absolute treasure. Smooth as glass and scented with a million memories, this magical reposado elixir is produced in Ensenada, Mexico. At the wildest bar on either side of the international border. This blast from the past 130-year-old twilight zone of drunkenness is called Hussong's Cantina. It's an outrageous bar with an outrageous origin that grew a town around it. It's the place where the margarita was born, and it hasn't changed since it first opened in 1892. And yes, it is pronounced Hussong's. And in just one moment, we'll return to those thrilling days of yesteryear as a beach reporter meets that Mexican icon, Hussong's Cantina. But first, if you like, give me a thumbs up by liking it. And please share this video on all social media and with all your friends who might just dig it too. And if you've had adventures and experiences similar to mine, or even if you haven't, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. It's the only way I can do better. And please, be a friend to the channel and subscribe. And when you do, make sure and ring that little bell to receive notifications of new content coming your way. And now, on with the show. Like so many other things on the West Coast, this outrageous little bar only exists because a gold rush, and not the one you might be assuming, lured a former German immigrant named Johann John Hussong across the border in search of riches. Of course, the new mother lode that was supposed to be running through the hills outside Ensenada, Mexico, turned out to be mostly unsupported fantasies reported in Los Angeles and San Diego newspapers. So, when a friend of John's attacked his wife with an axe and then decided to fetch her back when she ran away to L.A., Hussong ended up minding his friend's bar. After a year of slinging drinks, John bought and remodeled the former stagecoach stop building across the street and in 1892 opened John Hussong's Bar. As the town grew around the bar, the name was changed to Hussong's Cantina, but that's about all that changed. Today, Hussong's is the longest continually operating bar in Baja California. The building is a historical monument, and the distinctive green walls, sawdust-covered wood floors, and kitsch art haven't changed since it opened. Although the days of gunfighters and gold prospectors are long gone, Hussong's is still the most outrageous bar on either side of the border. And some say that you haven't actually been to Mexico until you've been to Hussong's Cantina. Now, Hussong's is one of the most outrageous bars on either side of the border. Which is probably why back in the 80s when KMET
Little Bitty Heaven 94.7 KMET Tweedledee
actually did one of their Finally a Friday shows at Hussong. But to tell you probably the most outrageous Hussong's Cantina story I can think of, I would have to go back to the very first time I was there. And for that, we have to go back to 1981. The year Indiana Jones dominated the box office, Jesse's Girl was the #1 song, and Ronald Reagan was always president. It was also the year I met my second wife, Kathy, who took me on a trip to Mexico and introduced me to Hussong's Cantina. which is well documented since I was a reporter at the time, working at the Beach Reporter covering Manhattan Beach and Hermosa Beach in California. I wrote a very popular column for that newspaper at the time called Changing Tides, in which the following story appeared. May 21st, 1981. Changing tides across the international border. You can hardly drive through Manhattan Beach without at least once seeing a bumper sticker from a place called Hussong's Cantina in Ensenada, Mexico. Ensenada is a favorite getaway place, particularly for local surfers who want to try a few waves in the warm water off Baja California. And Hussong's? Well, it isn't just a name on a bumper sticker. We crossed the international border at just before 11 a.m., hurried through the most dismal section of Tijuana, and headed out to the toll road toward Ensenada. There was almost no one on the highway other than the occasional local car or courtesy bus. And even though it was overcast, the scenery was compelling. The coastline of Baja is a blend of natural beauty and cardboard shack squalor. Still, it made the drive quick and enjoyable, and before I knew it, a plume of yellow sulfur smoke marked the city limits of Ensenada. After checking into a motel, the San Nicolas, we walked downtown along the main street of Ensenada. The street was littered with shops, mostly tourist traps selling genuine Mexican ponchos that I never once even saw a single Mexican local wearing, lots of straw stuff, huaraches, potteries, bullhorns, supposedly from the bulls unfortunate enough to run across a matador in Tijuana, firecrackers, and an incredible variety of switchblade knives. At about 2:30 Saturday afternoon, we turned down the street and Kathy pointed to what could have been almost any downtown Hermosa Beach bar. There was Hussong's Cantina, a place in a way which personified the whole town, at least from a gringo perspective. Yell, blending the voices of numerous people, could be heard rolling from inside. It was a cross between a rebel yell and a werewolf howl. The indifferent guard did not return our nod as we passed him, and suddenly we were inside Hussong's, 100 years in the past. But the place was packed, like a can of sardines. We pushed our way to the bar and ordered margaritas. The yells began again, starting from one end of the room and growing quickly throughout the crowd. People, mostly Americans in t-shirts and some in cowboy hats, stood there, heads thrown back, screaming as if their lives depended on it. That, I learned, was the charm and the appeal that made Hussong's the almost cultish place it is. It is a very strange place centered in an even stranger land where all bets are off. You can be rude there, you can be rowdy there, you can forget all the disciplines of civilization and go absolutely crazy if you like. No one notices, not the bartenders or the aging mariachi singers or the guards or anyone. In Hussong's, whatever you do is all right. But it wasn't until that night that we got the full impact of Hussong's. It was a little after 8 that night when we returned. Both of us figured we were in for a rowdy night. Hussong's was sponsoring an international surfing contest, which meant that the Gringo Bar would be full of exuberant, feisty, ready for anything South Bay surfers. The place was more packed than I had imagined a place could be. It made the afternoon seem as if the bar were empty. We pushed against the flood tide toward the bar. Behind us, two burly biker types began laughing, yelling, then pouring beers on one another. In another part of the room, someone had ordered a tequila in a shot glass, complete with a worm at the bottom. A chant could be heard, "Eat the worm! Eat the worm!" Then the familiar, "Ow!" As the evening wore on, more howling, more water tumblers filled with margaritas, more bottles of Corona. A small old man shuffled through it all with a platter filled with empty glasses and beer bottles, pushing and pressing through the unruly crowd and somehow managing not to drop a thing. We had just ordered another round when a ruckus broke out. One of the surfers got in the face of one of the locals who began to assail him with broken English. Someone had pinched somebody else's girl or something, I couldn't be sure, but both of them and their friends wanted to fight. There was no doubt about that. Suddenly, 6 more policia showed up out of nowhere. I think they dealt with this kind of thing before, actually. Kathy and I had been talking with the surfers, so we wouldn't get out of it clean. If the fight broke out, and it was about to, we'd all end up in Mexican jail. And Mexican jail is like headhunter country. It's no place to be headed. Obviously, something other than violence was needed to get us out of this. Emboldened by several excellent margaritas, I got a great idea. I'd try a bluff. So I hopped off the stool and went over to talk to the Mexicans, ignoring a few shoves along the way. "Look," I said, "he really doesn't want to fight you." "I don't care what he wants," the local said. "He's chicken." And now, here comes the lie. I told him the guy wasn't chicken, he just didn't want to get arrested again. Even though he was practically passed out on the bar, I said he was some sort of karate expert, maybe even a Green Beret, and he was already wanted in the States. Well, I must have sold it pretty well because a second squaring off came about, and everyone on both sides decided we were all there for a good time, not a war. Hands were shaken all around, the policia disappeared, and everyone blended into a final yell. Ow! Oh man, I can't believe that story. That happened a long time ago, and yet, just reading it here, it's almost like it happened yesterday. Actually, I can't believe that I actually was able to pull that off. I mean, the surfer kid that was sitting at the bar was so wasted. It was like he was going to fall off the stool, right? And for that other guy to actually believe that he was this, that this karate expert that was wanted in the States. Of course, you never knew back then. Somebody just being wasted like that was no clue to the fact that he couldn't be something else. What a story. Of course, now the Beach Reporter that I wrote for, it's no longer an independent newspaper. It's now part of the South Bay News Group, which includes the South Bay Daily Breeze and the Palos Verdes Peninsula News, all papers that I wrote for before, now just kind of owned by a big conglomerate. Yeah, nothing stays the same, does it? My old love Kathy, for example, who shared 1,000 adventures with me, left me for some rich guy when the Beach Reporter gig went south. And Ensenada didn't stay the same either. All the gringo cruise ships brought so many touristas into town that there's a McDonald's and a Walmart. But Hussong's Cantina still serves Coronas despite the coronavirus. Only now it has spawned 2 more locations, both in Las Vegas. And fortunately for us, it's selling its excellent tequila. Well, lift a glass to those sunny slopes of long ago.